What's up, Pokemon fans? We're finally back for another edition of the GameLocke Challenge. Pokemon Silver Edition. We're finally through all of Kanto, the first 4 games, and now we're jumping straight into Gen 2. Silver being my favorite. It's the one I decided to start with. Obviously, we're going to be playing, hopefully, Crystal after Silver and Gold, and whereas Silver was, as you guys can, I think, tell somewhere over here, I grew up with Silver. Silver was my second Pokemon game, so I've got a lot of fondness for it. So I said, yeah, let's just jump right into Silver version. Now, we did take a loss. We took actually a couple of losses throughout all of Kanto, but we took a heavy loss, losing our Charizard Crocodile at the very tail end. Just bad mistake on my part at the end of Yellow there. So we have some points to spend. 100%. We've been stocking our points. We've been saving our points. And so let's just get underway with exactly how we're going to be spending those points. Start us off, we're going to be doing, I have my notes here, because obviously the graphics are in post-editing. We have Squirtle. We are giving an egg move of Ice Beam. If you check, and all of this research is done on Cerebi. So I use Cerebi to confirm what is eligible and what is not. Obviously, usually the Pokemon editor that I use generally says, hey, that's not normal. Are you good with that? But just in case, I'm going off of Cerebi and their decks per each generation, of course, of the Gold, Silver, Crystal decks, to tell me what is eligible and what is not as an egg move, what is a TM, what is a, whatever, right? So, yeah, Squirtle is getting Ice Beam for some obvious reasons. The TMs and are not as forgiving or as powerful as they were in Gen 1. And a lot of things are not as readily available, especially if you're only doing the first half. If you're only doing the Johto version, then there's a lot that is unlocked behind Kanto and Mount Silver and stuff like that. So, yeah, so we're going with Squirtle with Ice Beam, and we're going to give Jolteon also an egg move in Thunderbolt. So we're going to give Shunsui and Kenpachi Ice Beam and Thunderbolt respectively, because will start them off with, they're Hall of Famers. They deserve it. They've been through the beginning. They're 4-time champions. They deserve some powerful starting moves. And just straight up, these moves, as I said, you get weaker versions of these moves, So throughout most of Johto, so it was good for me to get some elemental powers right out of the gate. Then we jump over to Abra. We're going to do a double whammy with Itachi. We're doing a double whammy with Itachi. We're going to give Abra Tri-Beam just as an offensive, a decent, Tri-Beam is quite a good move back in the older gens. Does it hold up today? That's for debate, but Tri-Beam is certainly no slouch, and it at least gives Abra some offensive capability, plus gives a move outside of just the standard Psychic moves, where we are going to be encountering, of course, Dark types. Psychic is not nearly as broken by Gen 2. Still very powerful, very viable, but not as broken. So 100% there. And of course, the special attack stat, right? We're going to give an IV stat, which is eligible, of course, of 30. Well, I don't believe it's 31 back then, but max IV stat in special attack going forward, so that our Kadabra and then into our Alakazam for Itachi is going to be the strongest it can possibly be in its special attack, where, of course, the special stat has officially been split as of Gen 2. Definitely want to capitalize on the special attack stat 100%. Then for our last 2 points to spend, we have both Aerodactyl and Dratini. Aerodactyl, we're going to be giving a full IV stat of speed. This is just obvious for some outspeeding purposes. I think this came about because, as I said, if you guys noticed, the time between Blue and Yellow was a little bit sparse, and then the time between recording for Yellow and Silver has been a little bit of a stretch and stuff like that, because I got really busy. So it's been a while, and I slowly was just chipping away as I was playing Silver. So the thing is that I believe I chose this because Aerodactyl was getting sometimes matched in speed quite a bit, and Aerodactyl should be a speed demon a lot of the time. So I'm counting on Aerodactyl being able to outspeed a lot of things, and Also, just wanted to sort of start with a clean slate. We're hoping that this team stays viable throughout Gen 2. Obviously, we have to have a new addition on the team and stuff like that. But stockpiling these points is good in theory, but then you also, had I spent a point on Charizard, for example, had I spent a point on Crocodile or something, I might have, my mistake in my gameplay might have been saved by a higher special defense stat. You know what I mean? Had I maxed out special stat or something like that, maybe you would have survived that, that Thunderbolt sort of idea. So, things like that. And Dratini also is getting Thunderbolt. There was a few options for Dratini as far as egg moves goes, according to Cerebi. But I liked Thunderbolt because there are quite a few different flyers, and obviously quite a few water Pokemon that Dratini can resist, and Dratini is quite hard to raise, so I was hoping Thunderbolt would be sort of a neutral. Thunderbolt is just generally just a good move, neutral damage to, your poison types, and, your bug types and things like that, but also super effective against, water, very common type, plus, obviously, any type of flyer. So, where Dratini is not very bulky and a little bit hard to raise, I wanted to give Dratini something that could really, chew in and do the most amount of coverage damage as possible. Even though it seems kind of silly to give 2 points to 2 egg moves and give them both Thunderbolt, they're for very different purposes. And as you guys can see from the chart over here, I believe, we've spent all our points now. We spent our first point. As you guys know, we've had 7 points total. A point for each of the cleared games, giving 4 points total. And we did 3 out of 4 Elite Four clears, sweeps. So we got 3 points for that. We spent the first point, of course, to make Eevee a permanent Jolteon and or just hold a Thunderstone. Basically, you start with a Thunderstone in your inventory. It's the same thing. And then we also, afterwards, we've been stockpiling these points, and now we spent all 6 points spent. We're back down to neutral as we begin. That is not necessary, by the way. That's only for reviving any disqualified or ineligible Pokemon, which we're currently sitting at 49 of the Kanto Pokemon are disqualified and ineligible for use, which also, want to bring up right quick, that number is also accurate, but doesn't actually paint the entire picture. For example, just like losing Crocodile, as far as I know, you don't really get a Charmeleon through normal means without a Charmander, or breeding a Charizard, So, even though Charmeleon is not counted in the 49, there's no real way to obtain a Charmeleon, so this number is actually much higher due to evolutionary lines. This number is probably at least half a dozen or more higher than it actually appears, even though this is the official number. If somehow I obtained a Charmeleon, yes, I'd be eligible to use it, but I can't grab a Charmander, and I can't evolve a Charmeleon into a Charizard. So, is what it is there. But yeah, those are all the points spent. I think everything was covered over here quite nicely. So, long-winded intro, but we had to go over the points and everything that we spent. Let's clean slate of points. Let's start up with Gen 2 here, people. Let's get underway and see what we can get to replace Crocodile here. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are off to the races to start ourselves our Pokemon Silver. As you guys can tell from behind me, I've already showcased this before, but Pokemon Silver, I even have the original box. Pokemon Silver was my second game, the first one being the one we just played, Pokemon Yellow, which... even though that these are probably going to come out more closely related, same with the difference between the blue and the yellow playthrough. As you can tell from the older filming, it just took a long time for me to edit. Yellow was finished before, into Valentine's Day time, I want to say, and it took me almost a month now, over a month, to get the editing all complete, because my back was still very sore. I had recently injured myself, so that was early February when Yellow was completed, and or at least a little around that time. So we're setting our stuff to set and stuff. But yeah, I just realized that by the time these are released, there might not be that much of a time disparity, and it might seem off. But yeah. So once again, having the day-night cycle here, very interesting. And yes, we did start this actually at at 4 in the morning, at almost 5 in the morning. I had a very early night, and I had started this on... I had been chipping away at this for the last month. I started this on a weekend where, as I said, my back was, sort of bothering me and stuff, and sometimes the leather chair was like just helping to lean back sort of idea. My back's a lot better now. I would say almost fully recovered at this point, but it was definitely quite funny because I was like, okay, am I really going to start this at 5? I said, well, I'm obviously like tossing and turning. I said, I want to relax my back, so it woke me up, so I got up and I said, well, I'm just going to play some Pokemon. I'm going to do something relaxing. And then I said, well, Pokemon. Let's play some Pokemon, right? And that's what we get into here. So obviously, we're still fast message speed. Pokemon style, of course, is set, because that's part of the rules. And we name ourselves Griever as always. Now, as is always showcased, and we will be showcasing it here, I believe the colors of this will inevitably change, because I believe this was a problem with the emulator. As you can tell, the colors are a little bit dull here at the start, or maybe that's just that morning thing. But I do believe I had a couple of color balancing issues. It might not even be in this recording. My color balancing issues with the ROM. So, but yeah, obviously we have a lot to get underway here. Yes, it was Saturday or Sunday. Yeah, Sunday. That's right. Yeah, daylight saving. Sure, whatever. So yeah, who we're gonna replace is the big question here. I'm all over the map here. I haven't done one of these in a while. Who are we gonna replace to replace Crocodile? Well, first things first, of course, we need to decide on our starter. We definitely need to decide on our starter. So there's, of course, our rival chilling up there and such. So we go into here and we talk to Elm. And, of course, he's going to give us a Pokemon because we have to start out on our major journey and such, right? Which, of course. Let's send a 10-year-old, like you're fully, you have adults working for you, you're an adult and stuff, but let's send the 10-year-old out there, right? So if we look at our ID number, the last number in the ID number is a 5, so obviously we go by starter clause. 1 to 3 is the grass, 4 to 6 is the fire, and 7 to 9 is the water, with 0 being the player choice. And it's a good thing, I would say, because there isn't a whole lot of fire. There is a Magmar option in silver, I think, or gold. One of them. There is still a Magmar option, which Fire Punch stuff, very good. Magmar is still quite a powerhouse in the early gens. Just an underrated, really, fire type. But we do end up with the fire starter of all things, and it's just like where we're not eligible for Vulpix, we're not eligible for a Ponyta, we're not eligible for a Charmander. Like, there's a lot we're lacking here. So because we got so lucky, obviously we are doing, this is the Toriko edition. Pokemon Silver is the Toriko. Toriko is, you guys can tell, back there, one of my favorite mangas, and really good manga. And even though we spin the wheel for all the nicknames, the moment I actually landed on, there's the color correction. Yes, I knew there was a color problem. So we ended up obviously we kept the recording because it was what it was. But I fixed the color issues, the color balance problems later. And we're into our first rival battle. So what I ended up doing, though, even though I spun the wheel and stuff, because we got so lucky, like, out of all the Pokemon, as much as I love Totodile, Totodile is probably my favorite. One of my favorite starters, just period. But also, I love Feraligatr, I love that line. We already have we still have our Kenpachi, so I really didn't want a Totodile. Chikorita would have been alright to get, but the fact that we needed a fire type, we wanted to replace fire type, we want a fire type, in that regard, is absolutely incredible that we hit the Cyndaquil. So I said, you know what, I'm not spinning the wheel, it's the namesake, and I chose to call Cyndaquil Toriko. Just after the, main character, getting that main character energy, that main character vibe that Cyndaquil provided, I said, absolutely, we're doing that. So, Now here is where, obviously, we defeat our rival without much of an issue. We catch ourselves a Ladybug. Now, Ladybug is named... I'm forgetting all my notes here. Where's my notes? Ladybug was named Sunny, one of the other 4 Heavenly Kings. And then we go straight after Faulkner here. Went straight after Faulkner for our first gym. So we caught a Ladybug, named Sunny. We have our Cyndaquil Toriko. And now we're straight into, once again, Gen 2 is going to be, I think, a little bit of our bitch. Because we have very powerful, the Hall of Fame. Really, Gen 2 is difficult for a lot of reasons. Obviously, the steep, the level curve, and the wild Pokemon, everything being so weak. So you can't really get over-leveled. It takes a lot of grinding to get powerful. And, you know, gym leaders like this, having level 7 and 9 is your gym leader. You know, like that's your first gym leader. That's 5 levels lower than Brock's at the very beginning. You know what I mean? And stuff. So there's a lot to be said for that. But we easily, of course, we defeat him and stuff. But the good thing is that where we're so powerful with all our, you know, our egg moves and stuff like that, this is definitely going to be easier said than done. Now, we do catch a Mareep named Komatsu. So, Komatsu, the greatest chef in, you know, manga history. And then Toriko evolves into a Quilava very quickly on. So, Toriko becoming a fast member of the team. You love to see it. We like it. And then we immediately go after Bugsy. So we're immediately, like as I said, Gen 2, we have a lot to sweep through. There's a lot of Pokemon we're ineligible to catch. Due to the Kanto stuff, you know, all the Geodudes we ran into, the Pidgeys, the Rattatas, things like that, we can't catch them. So there's very limited, we're pretty limited, not that we cannot catch Kanto Pokemon, obviously, but a lot of the early ones in the first half of Johto are all the ones that are abundant in the Kanto games, and after 4 runs of the Kanto games, you know, it is what it is. Now, of course, we're going to destroy Bugsy as well, because we have Ichibei, the Aerodactyl. Only level 11, and already this has creeped up on us by trying to raise 6 Pokemon all at once, even 2 starters with their good level growth. We're into a level 16 against our level 12, you know, but it's Ichibei. He's an Aerodactyl with wing attack, super effective, got the speed, and look, he did half damage to Pokemon 4 levels higher than him. He's going to try the Fury Cutter. Scyther is going down. Bugsy's Scyther does not bother me where I'm a rock flying type. I am golden here. So Ichibei might be underleveled. But there we go. Not so much anymore, is he? But also, Pokemon like Ichibei and like Garp are much harder to raise. Their level growth, it doesn't support. They take a lot more experience, obviously, as we all know about level growth. Their growth tree just takes a lot longer. So we easily beat Bugsy there, no big deal. And now time for our second rival battle. Now this rival battle screws up a lot of people because no matter what starter your rival has, whether it's Quilava, whether it's a Bayleaf, or whether it's Croconaw, it's always rather powerful at this point comparatively to where your team is roughly usually at. Plus, you have to deal with a few, like, if you don't have elemental moves, like, you know, having Thunderbolt here, which is obviously going to, I'm going to say one-shot the Gastly and stuff, then you're in for a little bit of danger, right? And even see here, after Bugsy, who's level 16, we're still only level 11, fighting off people already in teenage years. Shinsui's only level 11. You know, so by trying to raise a full team of 6... and the fact that you don't get a whole lot of experience, not a crazy amount of trainers, and they're so low leveled, when we run into, you know, a level 16 Croconaw. Like, he's over leveled. Well, he's not over leveled. We end up being under leveled. You know, like had we been of equal level, that's a 1-shot. You know, but now it's going to be a 2-shot, and Croconaw can do some damage. The fact that he didn't go for like bite or something a little more fierce, we got a little lucky there. In all honesty. And now we also go to level 13. So we're utilizing, you know, Bugsy and stuff to sort of... Our powerhouses like Ichibei and Shinsui, who are already strong in their own right. We were obviously using the early levels to bulk up our newest members like Toriko and stuff like that. Make sure Toriko becomes a Quilava very, early on. Trying to probably raise up Dratini, because Dratini, even with Thunderbolt, is very, obviously not super bulky or anything like that. Needs some help. Itachi, obviously, even with Tri-Beam, needs help. But finally, turns into a Kadabra. So, now a lot more viable going forward. Obviously, we're going to immediately, like, trade evolve him with the PK Hex into Alakazam. I'm quite sure of that. And Kenpachi finally evolved. But, I mean, look at the difference, though. We're 2 rival battles, 2 gyms deep, and we're just getting our starter evolved. See what I'm saying? That means level 16, you know? So now here we also catch ourselves a Hoot Hoot. Hoot Hoot is going to be named Coco. So we basically got 3 out of the 4 Heavenly Kings and the Greatest Chef. And immediately into Whitney. So, yeah. This is, obviously, I hope we're trained up a little bit more than level 16 to go up against Whitney, because Nuzlocke Killer 101 right here. Just game killer right here. Like, this was so annoying as get and stuff like that. So, Ichibei jumps in at level 20. Okay, alright. So, we definitely went through National Park and all that stuff. Probably that's where we caught the Hoot Hoot, is probably just south of Ecruteak City or something like that, or in the National Park. A lot to be said for that. And yeah, we obviously did some grinding. At this point, you sort of have to do grinding if Ichibei's, level 20. So we get rid of the Clefairy, pretty straightforward, and in comes the Miltank, who's also level 20. Our wing attack is obviously going to do some decent damage. I believe 60-100 in this gen. Might be weaker than that. So then we go for Bite, and it does even less. So yeah, we're like, oh, but we like that flinch. We do like the flinch, I'm not going to lie. I'm worried about a milk drinking, problem. And here comes the milk drink. Yeah. Damn, that Miltank gets a lot of HP back for that. But we're keeping it pretty good. Oh, and then she's stuck in the rollout. We're going to win. That rollout is still super effective against us. So, but thankfully our wing attack did heavy damage. So, obviously we had a strategy there. Didn't even get a level because, once again, it's an Aerodactyl. So this is also the problem with having such powerful Pokemon in our starting, in our starting bit, is that a lot of that experience, we're not raising up Pidgeys and Rattatas who would be like level 24 or 25 by now, We're raising up the stronger Pokemon that they soak up that experience like crazy. So we do have 3 gym badges. No problem so far. Lots of evolution. Lots of power on our team, obviously. Our egg moves were the right choice, I believe, because we've been utilizing them for a lot of these battles. And now we fight our 3rd rival battle, where he's already got himself a Haunter. So now we're our level 19 Garp, who's going to immediately... Alright, the Haunter's going to curse himself immediately. We're going to go for the Thunderbolt here. I guess we were hoping he'd pull out the... Okay, I see. I think what our strategy here is that Garp obviously soaks up a lot of experience, as I said. And if we get rid of the Haunter, that's some experience. Plus, if he brings out the Zubat. With the Thunderbolt, that's 2 rival level Pokemon, that gives us a little bit more of a boost. Brings out the Magnemite, of course. I should have expected that. So we have to switch. Most of our guys are 19-20. Not doing too bad. Everyone's pretty even so far. In comes Toriko and Supersonic. I hate fighting with confusion. And I'm surprised I actually went for it, because that's what usually screws me, in Nuzlocke especially, is getting hit by confusion a couple times and then just a bad roll on something I didn't expect, like a self-destruct or a sonic boom or something like, oh, you can only do chip damage, just Tackle's doing this. Then he pulls out a sonic boom and I'm like, oh, I should have known that, 20 damage, or a Dragon Rage or something, So I'm always very hesitant to fight on that. And in jumps the level 22 Croconaw, so our rival is still actually ahead of us in levels. So now we're going to switch out to Shunsui, obviously, to take care of this Croconaw, that super effective Thunderbolt. Only 2 levels down this time, and just about going to get that level 21 here with this death, 100%. So we go for the Thunderbolt, and it does one-shot. The level gap has been closed a little bit there, like I thought. And now we're level 21. In jumps the last and... Yeah, it is the least. The Zubat. The Zubat jumps in just to get one shot. So our rival goes down. Nothing really dangerous has happened quite yet. What do they say? Knock on that wood or whatever. This is wood technically, so knock on that wood. The 3 badges, 3 rival battles. Everything's so far going in our favor. Now here we do catch ourselves a Kanto Pokemon, a coughing who is named Milk the Second. Milk the Second is the coughing. And now we immediately go up against Morty. So now Morty is, Curse is a bit of an issue, and once again, there are some issues with that. But he's the Ghost type user. We have, of course, we have Itachi. We've got Bite on. Which I believe Bite is super effective. I forget. Remember the Gen 1, Gen 2 things got all screwed up. But yeah, Itachi is obviously an Alakazam at this point. Matches the levels. Let's just start Psybeaming these guys. That poison typing isn't going to do them any favors. And boom, yeah, with the Psybeam, Psybeam, ha, this should be pretty straightforward. I'm going to assume this is just going to be a straight up sweep because... Doesn't he have a Mischievous or anything like that? He's just got... He's an Agatha. He's a weak Agatha. Right? So we got this. So we get rid of the Haunter. Once again, one shot. All that fun jazz. In comes the Gengar. Level 25. So we're still... Once again, we're a couple levels lower, but we're an Alakazam. We should be fine. Our special attack is super... Wait a minute. And... Apparently, Psybeam is not strong enough, 4 levels lower, with a perfect special attack stat, to take out a Gengar. Now, Gengar is no slouch. I'm not... Ichibei finishes off the Gengar, but we just lost Itachi, one of our best Pokemon. And here's the worst part. We can't catch an Abra anymore either. Because we already had, if I'm looking at my notes correctly, we caught an Abra named Nico Robin in blue version. So now, we've lost Alakazam, one of the consistently strongest Pokemon. Like, GameLocke wide, never a bad choice, always a powerhouse. And we lost because... we trusted the Psybeam to take out the Gengar in one hit and the Shadow Ball to not be able to take us out in one hit. So, heavy loss there. We end up catching ourselves a Tauros named Ichiryu, one of my favorite characters from Toriko. We also catch ourselves a Tentacruel named the Four Beast. So, yeah, this is just wow. So, we end up, as you guys can tell from down below, out of the ones we've captured, we have a Ladybug, a Mareep, a Hoothoot, a Coughing, and a Tauros available to us. And then later on a Tentacruel. Given all that, we go with the Tauros for a heavy physical and somewhat bulky Pokemon. Tauros obviously slouches in 3rd to 4th gen a little bit, but in early gens, like a Persian, like Kangaskhan and stuff like that, Tauros is actually quite a viable Pokemon. Of course, we're going up against the fighting gym here, so not the best, but out of all those choices, we already have an electric type. Ladian sucks. Noctowl, we already have a flyer in Ichibei, and once again, Noctowl, not the best. The only other viable Pokemon that we had captured at that point would have been Meltwo the Coughing, and into a Weezing. So there was a slight debate on that one, whether I wanted Weezing or whether I wanted Tauros, but Tauros was already, of course, it takes no time to train him up. He's already in the mid-teens, and he's a fully evolved Pokemon. His stats just spoke volumes to me, so we went with Tauros. Plus, I mean, Ichiryu, one of my favorites. But still, even though we're going through, we ignored the whole Chuck fight there, but obviously Wing Attack and then Thunderbolt, it works out in our favor. There's no real, nothing really to say there. But just so much to talk about with the choices. We end up catching ourselves a Flaffy named Setsuna. And then Garp finally evolves. Garp finally evolves into a Dragonair. 5 gym battles later, multiple rival battles, multiple captures, and we just got to level 30. Wow. Yeah, Johto is a thing. Now Jasmine, Gym Leader 6, right out of the gate. Let's go. But yeah, so that was my reasoning there. Losing Itachi, though, what a stupid mistake. I don't really run calcs when I do these game locks and stuff like that. So maybe I should have paid more attention and been more wary of the Shadow Ball. Obviously should have been more wary of the Shadow Ball technique. But I do think our best choice was the Tauros in this instance. Tauros, a very close contender being Coughing into a Wheezing. Wheezing could be a good Pokemon. I think it's the moveset that bothered me about Coughing probably in Gen 2. Needs a lot of TM help or something like that, most likely. So now we obviously get rid of the Magnemite quite easily here, but at level 35 Steelix, we have Flame Wheel, but Toriko is not fully evolved yet. This thing is so dangerous. It's level 35, stronger than anything we have. We just beat Chuck, and now we're expected to be 4 or 5 levels higher. That Rock Throw is going to be devastating, and it is. It does half health to us. We go for the Flame Wheel, hoping to capitalize on that, 2-hit thing. But it doesn't work because Jasmine goes for a Hyper Potion. So this is getting now really dicey. We didn't think the Morty thing was dicey, but this is getting dicey. I'm worried about it. Like, what if I don't outspeed it? What if I don't do something? So I immediately switch after doing the next Flame Wheel after the Hyper Potion. I switch into Dragonair, hoping that it's going to go for another Hyper Potion. Does not. Thankfully, we're not Flying type yet. And we have Surf on Dragonair. So managed to take that Rock Throw without much issue. Will this Surf do enough at level 30? And it does. It does. So Dragonair Garp saves the day up against the Steelix. And now we just have a Magnemite to contend with. But at this point, just shortly after beating Chuck, our team is barely holding on to level 30. And now not only does the next gym leader, the one you're expected to fight immediately after Chuck, you're expected to fight Jasmine. You basically do 5 and 6 back to back. The level disparity is crazy because now she's 5 levels higher. And it's just like, okay, where was I supposed to get that? I battled all the trainers going towards Chuck. There's nothing left, And I fight every random encounter. I fight every single one. But we do end up beating Jasmine, but my God. We thought this would be, not easy, but, well, we kind of said that at the beginning. It was like, yeah, Johto, we got all these egg moves, we're a powerhouse, we got some really good Pokemon that you normally don't have. You got weaker Pokemon like the Ladybuzz and the Hoodoos and stuff to pick from. No, we've got a solid team, we should be golden. Well, shit happens, so... And now, of course, we're up against Price, we did the whole Lake of Rage stuff, and now he's about the same level. Obviously, we didn't do a whole lot by the looks of it with Garp, because he's the same bloody level that he was just after defeating Jasmine. So maybe we probably did a little bit of the Lake of Rage stuff to boost up our guys, I'm going to assume. Now, yes, taking a Dragon type to an Ice Gym, what am I thinking? Well, they don't have Ice Beam. They have Aurora Beam. And it's not nearly as good, and 3 levels lower Seal is not going to kill me, and as we just saw. Dugong is a little more scary. But we also have Thunderbolt, so it's basically my super effective attack versus their super effective attack. And we nearly do half damage up against a Dugong, which is actually, I think, kind of impressive. But that Aurora Beam, obviously from a Dugong, is a little more scary. And our guys, like, yeah, our strongest is level 32. Like, we've battled everything, and we are barely into this. This is why we don't have ourselves a Typhlosion. We do not have a Blastoise. We're losing our bulk because we just don't have these guys yet. Like, we just don't have the levels. So we take the Aurora Beam. We do a Thunderbolt, obviously a Stab Thunderbolt from Shunsui, which was a crit. I don't think the crit mattered. It's obviously going to be much more powerful. And down goes the Dugong. And in comes, of course, his third and final, the Piloswine. So Piloswine... is a ground type. Obviously, there's not a whole lot we can do. But I don't believe he actually has, like, he doesn't have Earthquake or Magnitude or anything. So we're like, well, he's Ice type. Let's double kick him. And we get a critical double kick. And I'm like, huh. So unlike last time with Morty, where I should have checked that Shadow Ball, I actually end up being like, huh, this thing can't Earthquake me. Well, I'm going to stay up with Shunsui there. And then I run into Ichiryu, or switch in just for some safety purposes, just because he took a little bit of hits. Obviously, Strength is a very viable 8100 a move, and with Stab, takes out the Pile of Swine, no problem. Let's go Ichiryu, our latest addition, but Tauros is no slouch. So that's 7 gym badges, 7 damn gym badges that fast, like, we're sweeping right through. And here's our rival. Well, we're not exactly sweeping because we started off with only 5 Pokemon. Then we replaced, we got a team of 6, and then we lost. We lost to Tachi, my god. Still can't get over that, really. Now, here's where we fight our rival battle, of course, for another time. Now, Garp still has yet to level up because there's, like, no trainers in between here and there anymore. We've battled everything. This is what we're into. And of course, Confuse Ray, you guys know how I feel about confusion. And that right there is why. I'm just like, nope, I'm not playing this game, so I switch. I'd rather take chip damage and switch. Wing Attack's going to do nothing to Shunsui. And then we can Thunderbolt the Golbat. No problem. Obviously, Dragonair is still a sponge, like Dratini, soaks up a lot of EXP, so there's a lot of explanation for that. Raising things like Dragonite, Tyranitar, anything that takes a lot is obviously much more difficult in Johto. And then up against the Magnemite, this is why we're keeping Double Kick. It's been viable now twice, and obviously it was probably viable earlier and stuff like that. And of course, back then, Thunder Wave will affect electric types. I don't believe that's the case anymore. Or was that only a Gen 1 thing? I always forget. Like, it's like, oh yeah, Thunder Wave can affect electric types. It's like, yeah, it can. And it's just depending on what generation you're playing. Alright, so in comes the Haunter, but we're paralyzed, so I'm a little nervous there. So I'm looking at it. Everybody's pretty close. Everyone's at least 30. We have a bare minimum of 30, highest being 33 currently. So that's not too bad. And goes for the mean look. I'm glad I switched because that paralysis probably would have screwed me. I go for the dig because abilities don't exist yet. So obviously dig is a thing. And I believe back then dig was still 100 power. Goes for the curse, so kills himself. I love when they do that. To put a curse on me? On what? There's the Feraligatr. And I'm worried for a second. I'm like, wait a minute. Is that Mean Look going to keep me in here? Oh, shit. And I'm like, wait a minute. That's not how Mean Look works. Mean Look only works as long as the Pokemon who casts the Mean Look is out there. I'm like, okay. Okay, phew. So I jump into Garp, obviously, because this is why I gave Garp Thunderbolt. Is because against situations like this, the water attacks of Feraligatr are going to be not very effective. And then I'm going to be able to be super effective up against Feraligatr, even though it's looking like it's going to be a 3-hit KO. Because obviously it's not Stab. Special's not perfect, Then we Thunder Wave him just for the sake of argument, I guess. Then we go back to the Thunderbolt. But yeah, it's for situations like this where the Feraligatr can't do a whole lot to me, but I can do a lot to it. And then the fully paralyzed, so we're safe, even at half health at 42 HP. And boom, we defeat our rival again. But even our rival has a fully evolved starter, and our strongest is level 33. Finally, though, after 2 gym leaders and a rival, Garp finally gained a goddamn level. No, 3 gym leaders. Garp was level 30 during the Chuck fight, right? So, Chuck, Jasmine, Price, rival for 1 goddamn level. And now Sneasel. I love Sneasel. Sneasel's great. Sneasel jumps in. Obviously, the speedy little dark demon, dark little ice demon. But we switch out to Toriko, who is sitting totally fine. And relative level to the Sneasel, a Flame Wheel. Yeah, 2 Flame Wheels to take him out. If that was a Typhlosion, obviously, at this point, it'd be no question. that and it'd be 4 levels higher, so, but... And Flame Wheel is obviously not Flamethrower, so got to take that into account as well. This is why I gave moves like Thunderbolt and Ice Beam to my guys, because they just don't have... Most of the moves you learn now, you're not waiting from Ember to Flamethrower, which is great. You have things like, you know, the Flame Wheel, but now in Johto, where you don't get to the high 40s and 50s where they learn their best moves before the Elite Four, it's detrimental as hell. Now we catch ourselves a Swinub named Starjune. Now I would be okay with a Piloswine. That is probably one of my favorite catches that we did. Obviously Mareep Flaffy would be also great catches as well if we didn't already have Jolteon. And finally Toriko does evolve into Typhlosion after getting through, obviously I'm assuming, the Ice Cave here. So Typhlosion, he needed about 3 levels since the rival battle. And Kenpachi as well, okay. Because, yeah, we still had the Rocket Tower to do, so I'm assuming we were able to gain the 3-4 levels for each of them that were required to get us that far. So, boom, we got Blastoise now. We got Typhlosion now. The only one left, obviously, is, Dragonite. And, yeah, that's incredible. And now we're up against the 8th gym. 8th gym in 32 minutes-ish. 33 minutes? 32 minutes, 48 seconds. We're already up against the 8th gym leader. We are even though we've taken some losses and stuff like that, we have been cruising through this game. So we're equal level with the gym, not intentional. But of course we have Kenpachi has Ice Beam. There was a reason I gave this thing Ice Beam. Let's go. Still, oh, that little bit. Oh yes, the Thunder Wave missed. Okay, thank God. Go for the bite. Obviously, Ice Beam not being stab is going to be a bit of an issue here. And that little bit there. That little bit. Now, was that just a low roll? Let's find out. Yeah, it was probably just on the low side of a roll there. So it's just enough. And now that we've gained a little more special attack. Our special attack's only at 88, by the way. It's not even 100. So, or into the 90s yet. So, the 3 Dragonairs, obviously, going to go down to our Ice Beaming Blastoise without much issue. Yeah, clearly the first one was a low roll, and now that we're level 38, we've got no real issue. Just that little bit to put us over. Now, here comes the Kingdra. We know Kingdra can be a bit of a bitch. Bit of an issue. And Smokescreen is not going to be our friend. It's level 40. We don't have a level 40 on the team, I don't believe. But Ice Beam does neutral damage due to the Water Dragon typing. And still does a hefty amount of damage. It's a 3-hit by the looks of it KO. So there's no reason to keep Blastoise, switch Blastoise. Let's keep Kenpachi in. Dragon Breath does a decent amount. Goes for the Hyper Beam instead of healing. Which that Hyper Beam probably would have done quite a bit of damage. Might not have killed us. But we do end up getting rid of the Kingdra pretty. So Kenpachi sweeps Claire without much issue, even being 2 levels lower than her ace, 3 levels when we started. So we defeat Claire. We catch ourselves a Goldeen named Moon, Whale King Moon. That's ironic. Even though Goldeen is obviously not a whale, but still, fish for the stuff. And a Donphan named Jiro. Jiro, of course, the second son, the wolf. We love Jiro. So, yeah, and now it's our rival battle right here before the Elite Four. Craziness that. Okay. So our final rival battle. We got all 8 gym badges. We're looking all right. We're looking pretty good. And Silver sent out Sneasel. Alright, level 34 Sneasel, but at this point we're getting a little bit higher up in our own levels, level 37. Now, of course, the strongest of the Elite Four in Johto is level 50. So it looks like we might be doing a little bit of grinding before we actually go into the Elite Four, because we are 13 levels currently below that. Below that. So I'm not going to make the same mistake I did last time. Obviously, getting here was a little bit of a... Oh, so Ichibei is the lowest level. We almost have a level 40. Ichi-Ryu, of all Pokemon, is almost level 40. So everyone's sitting here in the high 30s. Getting to level 40 should be fairly simple. Well, not simple, obviously, because of the grinding in Johto is so abysmal. But we do switch into our Toriko to use Flame Wheel on the Magneton. Should KO him, I would think. Yep. Critical hit might have mattered. Maybe. But it is a Typhlosion. Like, there's... You know. There are rules to this. Alright, obviously throws out the Feraligatr to combat the Fire type. So we're going to switch out into Shunsui more than likely. And we do. Okay. So we're almost at the Elite Four. And like this is crazy. We've been just running through this game like nobody's business. But obviously that's all we can show. You know, there's no real boss of a team, you know, in Johto. You know, there's no Giovanni fights and stuff like that. There's no Jesse James worth showcasing. I could have shown the Rocket admins and stuff, sure, but you know. And so yeah, so that cuts down on a little bit of the time. But yeah, we're just most of the gym leaders haven't been prolonged fights. A lot of them only have, you know, 3-4 Pokemon at best. So once you start sweeping them, they go down pretty easy. And so we defeat the Haunter. In comes the Kadabra, who we taught, obviously, we taught Shadow Ball to Shunsui here. And yeah, how do you like it? How do you like it? Shadow Balling a frickin' Itachi. Damn. That's still, that hurts me. That hurts me. Losing Itachi, because losing on the I know I'm going to feel that. Plus, we spent 2 points on him. That's what I forgot to bring up, I believe. We spent 2 points to make him viable. We gave him an egg move and a 31 IV stat, and still, we just straight up lost him. So 2 points basically non-existent now. You know? So we do defeat our rival there. And now I guess we're going to grind, and then immediately we'll be right into the Elite Four, I would say. And here we go. Elite Four time. Imagine we did all that wonderful, wonderful grinding. And here we go. Up against Will. The first one, who I still think is either... Will's backstory fascinates me. I really think Will is it's like some prodigy sort of child. Not prodigy, well, a prodigy child, but like a direct, a disciple of Lorelei and Agatha. I really do think that, because they're just a combination of the two, you know? I think that like they both trained him to be one of them, as they were sort of bowing out. So we start off with Shunsui here, who's level 43, fair enough. The strongest is a level 50, obviously, and we're going for the mid-40 range here. Before we tackled it, and I probably got sick of bloody grinding. So with the Shadow Ball and the Thunderbolt, and the Pin Missile, like, there's a lot Shunsui can do to Will's team. The Shadow Ball obviously is going to be a 2-hit or a 3-hit against the Executor, but I don't think Executor can do very much to us. So we Shadow Ball once, twice, of course, with that Reflect Up, or whatever it was, Reflect Up, Light Screen Up, it's obviously going to do less. And then the Psychic Blast does way more than I thought, and I'm sitting there like, oh, never mind. That Executor has Psychic. And the crit might have mattered. It seemed like, or it would have been a high roll at the very least there with the Shadow Ball with the screen up. Then in comes the Slowbro, obviously, and we can just Thunderbolt, obviously a Slowbro, who looks very dorky in this particular sprite. Quite dorky. And that Thunderbolt clears in one hit, and level 44 Shunsui. You know, so Shunsui doing pretty good here. Cleaning up against the first Elite Four member quite well. In comes the second Xatu. Of course, we outspeed just about everything because we're a Jolteon. We're awesome. And yep, one shot with the Thunderbolt, and boom, Shunsui sweeps, and we're only going to need to use one, you know, Super Potion pretty much to heal up Shunsui by the looks of it. So we defeat the first one without any issue. Alright, that's a good start. That's a good start. Okay, so let's grab our pack. We have a couple potions left. We have 5 super potions. Yep, okay. And obviously, we never did get Garp to become a Dragonite, and that is a problem. But if we did, I would count it almost as over-leveling to the point that where's the challenge? Like, you can't even argue most people in their levels. And Koga elevated to an Elite Four member, by the way, is awesome. I love that for him. I think that's really, really cool. I think Giovanni is obviously Elite Four level. But there's reasons that, of course, Giovanni would not be a member of the Elite Four. But yeah, so we jump into the Koga fight here, which is really cool. And Bruno has elevated himself from position 2 to position 3 in the Elite Four. Like, the 3 years has mattered. People have improved, right? But yeah, what I like about this is most people go off of the 4th Elite Four member's strongest level. That's usually what most people do in a Nuzlocke, not the champions. But I'm saying that even if I went off the champion's strongest, who in this case, spoiler alert, is Lance, it'd still be 5 levels short. Is it unfair that he's got a level 50 Dragonite? Yes. Is it viable for me to have a level 55 Dragonite? I don't think so. So that's the whole reason there. But yeah, of course, we get rid of the Fortress, who can be very dangerous, and the Ariados very, very quickly with Typhlosion here. Toriko is going to be very viable against this guy. So the defense went way, way up just as we're going to hit that dig. And obviously, Muck is very bulky, so yeah, that's going to do basically shit all now that he acid armored up right before we hit the dig. Sludge Bomb is going to do a hefty amount of damage. So we're going to go back to the Flame Wheel. You know, hit that special instead of that defense stat. Now, thankfully, the Sludge Bomb and Toxic failed to hit in the regards of poisoning. So now we just have one more hit. That Sludge Bomb is going to do a lot. Muck is such a good Pokemon, like, seriously. People like sleep on Muck. Even with Ash using Muck in the in one of the fan favorite episodes, you know, the Griever episode, but also just in general the Indigo Plateau. Muck like strut his stuff and it was awesome. Okay, and now we're into a Crobat situation. We definitely have to switch at this point. Toriko's done enough, and there's not really a whole lot more he can do. So at this point, it's like, all right, we have a couple of options. Do we want to go for the super effective, or do we want to play it a little safe with the bulk? And then, thankfully, since we went with that one, because that double team is going to be really scary if he keeps stacking, so we need to hit that Thunderbolt. I'm glad I didn't go for the slow burn, because Thunderbolt should be able to take this thing out in one hit. It does. That Crobat with double team would have been a nightmare had I gotten unlucky. So Toriko grows to level 45, our strongest on the team. We get rid of Quick Attack for Swift for literally double team situations like that. I don't think anybody else is double teams for the rest of the thing, but you never know. It might be good to have Swift. And now in comes the Venomoth that we can Thunderbolt. Probably 2 to take it out. Yeah, 2 to take it out. Goes for that Supersonic. You guys know how I feel about confusion. But are we going to go for it? We're just going to give it a try. Oh, we put one of the berries right. I grabbed berries for anybody who didn't have like a Quick Claw or whatever. I just put random berries on them, and lo and behold, I think I have a Poison Berry on somebody too. Poison Cure Berry. But use the Bitter Berry on Chinsweet. Look at us, damn go. No, I think I got Charcoal on Toriko, so the Poison would have hit. I think I got a Charcoal on Toriko. Burnt Berry. Oh, yeah, I really want to Max Revive. Why do I still have that? Should have sold that. Well, I probably just didn't need the money. Burnt Berry. Yeah, give it to... Yeah, that's what I did. See, everybody's got an item. There's only, like, a Charcoal and maybe a Mystic Water. I loaded it, and maybe a Quick Claw. I loaded everybody else up with berries. Just random berries. Alright, so let's Super Potion up our Toriko. Are we going to do that? Yeah, might as well use up the Super Potion to save any of the Hyper Potions and stuff for when we need them. So we could probably potion up, shouldn't we, if we wanted to. Now, obviously, this next fight, Aerodactyl is no slouch with. Aerodactyl has fought Bruno many times already, proven how to strut his stuff. And since we don't have Itachi anymore, obviously, the next choice is our Flyer to go up against the Fighting Specialist. I mean, the Onix is our thing, but it is what it is. So, we should be able to deal with him. Let's see what goes down. So, the Hitmontop to open up. Right, he got a Hitmontop this time. So, Ichibei, jump in there, wing attack this guy. Oh, it's not quite enough. I'm kind of annoyed at that, honestly. Pursuit didn't do anything, but... Okay. So, wing attack, obviously, is only like 60, 100. Or maybe that wasn't until Gen 3. Is it still like 35 or something? Is that why? Anyways. Fly, the 2-turn fly kind of bothered me with that one. So, with the fact that Hitmontop has Detect, I figured I'd be here forever, so... When we're smart, we switch out with the Onix. We're not going to try to Fire Blast the Onix like last time. Not that we have Fire Blast this time, but I do remember us doing that. So it goes for the Rock Slide. Obviously, that was a great switch choice. Now we can just go for the Surf. So let's Surf this Onix. Let's get his ass. Now the Surf should take out the Onix. Obviously, no problem. Too bad about Onix, man. I would love to use an Onix. Onix is so bloody cool. Steelix is cool too, but Onix was always badass. It just, stat-wise, sucked. Move pool and stats, terrible. Plus that ×4 weakness. It's why Golem, Rhydon, it's why they're hard to use. They're so cool, but that ×4 to water where everybody's got Surf. Okay, so I'm not worried about the Hitmonchan because that Thunder Punch, yeah, super effective, but this is back in Gen 2. The Elemental Punches are terrible on Hitmonchan right now. And I love Hitmonchan, trust me. I love the Elemental Punches. I think he's great. He's so versatile once you hit Gen 4. In comes Hitmonlee, which I guess we're going to try to freeze him. Or we're just seeing what Ice Beam would do neutrally, I suppose. Goes for the double kick. Okay. So we're at about half health. Maybe, yeah. I don't know why we went for the Ice Beam. But yeah, let's go back to Ichibei. Let's take out these fighting types, shall we? So it goes for the double kick. Which actually does pretty decent damage. Well, the rock type, it's neutral, so the rock type thing. So this time we are going to go for the fly. Actually, kind of unfortunate because we missed that swagger. Had we got the swagger, our attack stat be through the roof, probably take care of that Machamp, no problem. But he's going to pull out the Onix anyways, I'm assuming, so, you know. Oh no, he goes for the Machamp, and it's like, alright. So, oh, what are we doing? We're going to switch? Why would we switch on the Machamp? Just use Fly. Fly should. Our attack stat isn't down. Oh, he's got Rock Slide. Oh shit, he's got Rock Slide. And so Fly, come on baby. Oh no. Oh no 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 no. I messed up. I messed up. And then he goes for the max potion. Ichibei goes down after 4.5 runs at the Elite Four. That's a Rock Slide from a Machamp. That Fly should have done way more damage. Like, what is my attack stat? Or what is his defense stat? Is Fly that... Fly should have been... Fly's like 95 power. How did that not kill? How did that not kill him? Like, that's too little amount of damage to be a low roll, so... Down goes Ichibei. So now Ichibei's gone. We lost our Aerodactyl after 5 games now. Well, 4 completed games. Into the 5th game, we lose Aerodactyl. That's just... Wow. So we're just using up the potion. I guess we're just using up potions here. But I'm probably still like thinking like, okay, that just fucking happened. I assume there'll be a cut here or something eventually, because I'm probably going to rethink a lot. So not only that, that means I can't do an Elite Four sweep anymore. Meaning I'm only going to get 1 point even if this is a success. Yeah, now I'm looking at Tauros going, alright, what can Ichi-Ryu do? We have a lot of eyes. We had, you know, there's Ichibei, Ichi-Ryu, Itachi. A lot of eyes. But obviously I've lost 2 out of 3 of them. Maybe I gotta stop naming people after fucking names that begin with I. Which is very, very ironic, because if it wasn't for manga, like, the only I name I know is, like, Ivan. You know? Like, not a whole lot of I names in English. You know, English names that begin with I. Ian? Ivan? It's kind of like it. Well, now we have Karen to deal with, who's actually, she can be a bit of a problem if you're leveled roughly the same as she is. It just depends on how you tackle this. If you're over leveled, that's one thing, but her Umbreon obviously Umbreon is such a bulky Pokemon. You don't expect it, but definitely a very bulky Pokemon. And the sand attack, see, it's the accuracy, like, those are the things that are going to matter. So we do get 2 strengths off, even with that sand attack. 1 more will take him out, but with now a double sand attack, and she's probably going to heal up. So we might as well switch out, get rid of the accuracy problem before we take any real damage. Switch out to our Dragonair Garp. We take the Confuse Ray, we're probably going to switch right here. See, this is the problem with Karen. If you don't have like a strong like dynamic punch fighting type right out of the gate to hit this thing with, then you're into some shit. You either need a powerful bug move, which Gen 2, or you need a fighting type. Here comes the sand attack. We just need to get 1 good flame wheel off. And of course, once again, the sand attack misses, or makes us miss. Take a second one. Are we going to try one more time? Yeah, we got too many sand attacks. And now a Confuse Ray. Nope. Now we gotta switch again. This Umbreon is a pain in the ass. I mean, obviously we could go for Swift, but I mean, that was part of the point. But I don't think Swift would have killed, and then I'm worried about the heal up, and then we're back in the same boat. So we take the feint attack. We're outspeeding the Umbreon, of course, because we're a goddamn Tauros. And we get that 3rd strength off to get rid of the Umbreon. Okay, we only took 20 odd damage. For the whole endeavor, nobody took a confused hit, nobody took anything, so in comes the Vileplume. Now what's Vileplume going to do? God knows, but let's just strength it. Strength is good, it's stab, let's just see, it's neutral damage, let's just see what it does. Does over half. So, that Stun Spore is very annoying. We're going to try for it. Yep, we're going to try for it. Goes for the Moonlight, of course. Of course, should have figured that. So we hit the strength again, of course. Without the paralysis and stuff like that, but now... yeah. Instead of switching out, let's use... There's only, you know, Karen and then Lance, so might as well use up our... What are we saving our Paralyze heals for, you know? So let's hit that strength again. The Stun Spore missed. She didn't go for Moonlight. And there was no question. Now we still have our speed. And Ichi-Ryu takes care of the Vileplume as well. Let's go Tauros. Let's go Tauros. Okay, the Gengar. And we have Pursuit. I just want to see. Because you can't affect me. Does basically nothing. Goes for the Curse. I mean, alright, you want to cut yourself in half? Let's do this. We could play that War of Attrition, or I could just switch out and kill his ass with a Thunderbolt. Which is what I'm going to do. Ooh, Destiny Bond. Trying to take the opponent with it. Nope, not playing that game. No. What am I thinking? Switch, dumbass. Switch. I don't even know why I hesitated with that one. Forget the full Mechanics of Decimel Bond where that was actually technically the last round of moves. This would be the new round of moves. I just don't give a shit. Boom. Go for the... Why didn't you just go for bite? Alright, double lick. Probably going to be paralyzed on the next one. Nope. And we go for the surf. Go for that surf. That should be enough. Yep. Boom. Down goes the Gengar. Destiny Bond can suck it. And in comes the Murkrow. Well, we have Ice Beam, so we can stay in, and we don't have any accuracy problems or anything like that. Feint Attack, back when it was called Feint Attack, as it should be. I don't know why they changed it. Like, literally, it's like the Beast Wars argument all over again. Like, oh no, it's Beasties, because kids can't see war in the title. A generation raised on things like Top Gun and Michael Keaton Batman, Terminator and all that stuff, and we can't see friggin', you know, forget it. Okay, that crunch did a stupid amount of damage. This surf better do a lot, or we gotta switch. Oh, it did not kill. We gotta switch, because I have a special defense lower, and that crunch, Jesus. Probably, oh, Toriko? Is that really the right choice? Okay, went for a max potion, but what are we gonna do? Dig. Instead of going for the surf, we're going for the ground. Yes, of course. Back then when it was 100, like it should be. 2-turn Earthquake. Ever since I think it was Gen 3, it switched to 60, and it's like, it's not even worth it. 2 turns to do 60 damage. Are you kidding me? It's only good if you literally have no other ground move. And that's your stab, you know, like if you're a Sand Slash. But then you just use Slash, you know, like... And we go for the Swift to take him out. And boom. Okay, so Karen's defeated. Awesome. So we recovered somewhat nicely from that Ichibei one. That Karen fight was obviously long and drawn out. There was a lot of status things. There was a lot of... had to do some smart playing around it so that we didn't get behind the 8-ball. And now, of course, we got to go up against Lance, who, I mean... Lance in Gen 4 is a lot more deadly, a lot more dangerous. In Gen 2, where the mechanics are what they are, it's not as bad. But Lance is still stronger, I feel, in Gen 2 than in Gen 1. And due, of course, to the level disparity and stuff like that. Like, his strongest is 5 levels higher than all of ours. So there is something to be said for that. Okay, so everybody's basically healed up. You know we have to start with Shunsui, so no reason to hesitate. Our strongest guy up against his starting Gyarados, like he always has. Let's see what can happen. Okay, Lance. Bring it on, baby. Music just stops so that the music can pick up again. Doom, doom, boom, boom, doom, 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 doom. Yeah, let's go. Alright, Lance. In comes the worst Gyarados sprite. I love Silver, but Gold's sprite was amazing, and Silver's looks dumb. Like, that is such a dumb looking sprite. Of course, we're going to Thunderbolt. We're going to outspeed and Thunderbolt the Gyarados, no question. Gyarados is never a factor. Here's where some of the fun goes in. Dragonite number 1. Who we are neutral against with our Thunderbolt. And we do almost half. Okay. Goes for the Thunder Wave. Unfortunate, so we're going to switch out to Kenpachi for that Ice Beam gloriousness. So times 4 Ice Beams should do quite a bit better. And Hyper Beams immediately. Oof. Okay, so we have a free turn to max potion ourselves, which we're going to take, because that recharge is going to allow us to do that, but man, that Hyper Beam is no slouch. Will we outspeed him? I don't know. Yes, we do. And we do get the Ice Beam off. That, if a Thunderbolt did that, even a non-stab Ice Beam times 4 should take out the Dragonite, and it does. Okay. So we managed to get our switch in. Kenpachi's at full HP, level 45, and can now deal with the Dragonites, I believe. Now the level 47 one. One of them has Thunder, because don't they switch off Blizzard, Fire Blast, and Thunder, I believe. The Ice Beam manages to take out the Dragonite in one hit. That times 4 weakness is not for nothing, baby. This is why we teach Ice Beam to our Squirtle. And here comes the level 50. The level 50. Let's go. Can we take out the level 50 in one hit? Yep. It's victory because Charizard, Aerodactyl are the last two. So we're just going to surf his ass. And here comes a wing attack. Probably do a decent amount of damage. Yeah, about 30. And just shy of 30 damage. But the surf will either kill or do... It stabs surf. So I'm thinking kill. Ooh, no. Apparently not. And in comes the Hyper Beam. Okay. Last ditch effort to do a lot more damage. Fair. You know, that's what I would do. Like, be like, I'm going to die anyway, so I can outspeed this thing. Let's do the most amount of damage possible. Because it's not going to need to worry about the recharge. It's very fair. Go to level 46. Now, we might want to switch out for the Aerodactyl here. Or just heal up. Because the last thing I want to do is take another Hyper Beam and it be a crit or something stupid. Yeah, just max potion him. And then we could Ice Beam's times 2, Surface times 2, but Surface stab, Ice Beam stronger. Oh, and he does Hyper Beam. Try to take us out. And now he's got to recharge anyways, so 2 Surfs. Nope. That Charizard was just a little bit more specially defensive inclined, and the Aerodactyl goes down to the 1 Surf after that recharge, and there was no big deal. So, boom. We do defeat Champion Lance, losing Ichibei and Itachi in silver. +2 in this run. And we do not get our sweep point. So, we'll probably spend that point because now that we have 2, we have now our, our Toriko and our Ichiryu. There's probably something I can utilize with 1 point for either one of them. There's probably a good egg move. You know, obviously these were not... Things like egg moves were not available in Gen 1. That's why we stocked our points. Now we have a lot of more options to go through the different egg moves and stuff. I'm sure we can figure out something definitely for Cyndaquil. But if not, Tauros might have surprised us. So, yeah, that should be incredibly interesting as well. And yeah, so now it's just time for the ending credit part. But yeah, Pokemon Silver, done in basically an hour. Just one small hour, you know. The other ones were a lot more, had basically a half hour extra worth of content, but that's because obviously the gym battles took a little bit more time. And you also had the evil team boss battles alongside your rival battles, and this time there is no evil boss. You know, it's just some admins playing it, trying to be Giovanni when they, you know, couldn't. So, Shunsui is now, once again, does that make him a 5-time? He's a 5-time Hall of Famer. Garp, obviously, is not going to be a Dragonite for a while. But, and Ichibei, this is where his story ends. Really ugly sprite, we'll say. Our newest addition, Ichiryu, strutting his stuff at Tauros. I love Tauros, so I am not unhappy with that. I'm unhappy at losing Itachi, but not unhappy at... same with Toriko. I love Toriko. I love Typhlosion. Would have loved to keep Crocodile, you know. And Kenpachi, our Blastoise, you know, saving us against Lance every day, you know. And here we go. Oak's rating. Yep. Awesome. And now, the credits, where we have the Dancing Blossoms. Let's go. But yeah, so what are we going to spend our point on? As I said, likely an egg move for Cyndaquil to get a stronger fire type move from the beginning. Or if there's something like really viable for Tauros, something like crazy like Earthquake or Rock Slide or something, we might look into doing that instead. Because Cyndaquil can take care of himself with Ember, and then when it starts to get like a little weaker, we have Flame Wheel and stuff like that. So I'm definitely going to compare the two and see who needs the stuff the most. Because Tauros can basically handle himself with like Horn Attack and then Strength later. For the majority of the game, we use Strength. Strength was very viable. 2-hit KOing Elite Four members. Well, that Alec can dance. Let's go, baby. Alec knows. He knows he's top dog. Feel it, feel it. Feel those vibrations. Mark Wahlberg style. But yeah, so definitely going to be looking at my notes here. Definitely going to be looking into either one of them because I think we've given like there's no reason to give Squirtle other than IV stats. Squirtle's pretty well handled. Garp's only going to be so good where the level cap's so low at this point. Let's be real, Shunsui doesn't need any bloody help. And we lost Ichibei along with Itachi. So there's nothing really else. There's nobody else to really look at. I think our newest additions, while they came in clutch when we screwed up with Itachi. And then, once again, I would say we screwed up with, you know, our guy too, our Ichibei. So, but yeah, look forward to gold version, everybody, and that is the end. Or is it the end? Yes, no, it is absolutely the end. Just doing our ending credits here, of course. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe as always. I basically already talked about our plan. Normally I take this time to talk about the mistakes we made and the, you know, here at the end of a run. I talk about like what we're going to do next, etc., etc. But obviously we're playing gold version next, you know, that's the only choice next. And hopefully if gold goes well, we will play Crystal. We will play Crystal to end out Gen 2. Now, as I said, I already basically went over everything. How I plan to allot that single point that we got. The mistakes we made, obviously, with Itachi and Ichibei's deaths, which is really unfortunate. But we will be, of course, down below. Has already been updated for the disqualified Pokemon. Not a huge list. Not a huge list because there wasn't a lot viable to capture. Where we do not do the Kanto run of the game. You get to the game over screen, you do the Johto run. That's good enough in my book for the Nuzlocke. I have Nuzlocke the game all the way through to red, but for the sake of argument for a GameLocke, you only need to get the end screen. You only need the credits to run the first time. You do not need to go through. You can choose to go through Kanto. I wouldn't tell anybody they do or don't. But me personally, with this GameLocke challenge, where I have such a big endeavor, assuming that I continue to succeed, there is a lot of gameplay still left to be had, and doing Kanto all 3 times plus red would take an enormous amount of time of grinding especially. So I did choose to say, nope, once you hit that end credit scene, that's the game. That's the game over. That's the win. And then you move on. Because the Elite Four doesn't even change. It's the same thing. Still level 50 and stuff, you just have a better shot because you're going to be higher level. But, you know, to me, I think it's more than fair that that's where that ends. So, you guys can disagree as much as you want, but, you know, it's my GameLocke run, it's my bar, my boat, you know, sort of idea. So, if you disagree, I urge you to use my rule set and play it yourself, you know. Do it your way. You know, there's no set do or don't for any of this. You know, you have your self-imposed rules. As long as you follow your own self-imposed rules and follow the core rules of a Nuzlocke, every run is viable. Every single one. So, but that's the end of it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Looking forward to starting gold. And yeah, because obviously I know some do's and don'ts from this run in particular. Obviously, the switch between Gen 1 and 2 was a little more dastardly than I thought, and I got very cocky, as we know. some early game. So yeah, let's definitely let's table ourselves a little bit there when we play gold. So as I already said, like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you guys back here next time for the next leg of the GameLocke run. Looking forward to it. Hope you guys are too. Sayonara, everybody.